The next item is our annual appropriation ordinance for fiscal year 2010.
Make the motion, Your Honor.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Hoskins. Is there a second?
I'll second, Your Honor.
Second by Hosty. Discussion.
Your Honor,
Commissioner Hoskins.
I've noticed that this appropriation ordinance, the total amount has gone up considerably since last year. We could potentially give ourselves the authority to spend just over $36 million, where last year we voted to possibly spend a little bit north of $30 million, Mayor. Given the fact that we've seen steadily declining revenues these last 6 months, and given the fact that last year staff actually kept expenditures about $1 million under budget, I'm kind of surprised that we would be considering such a large appropriation. Is there any particular reason why, Mayor?
Yes, absolutely, Commissioner. It's only until the last couple of years that we've been mirroring appropriations right in direct alignment with our budgets. They are two completely different mechanisms, and I believe in addition to that, what this current council has done over the last couple of years we've had to come back either during the year or at the end of the year and pass an amended appropriation. An appropriation is simply an authority to spend up to. It is not a license for the village to automatically spend that money. This is the way that the village adopted appropriation ordinances for 50, 60, 70 years. But for some reason, over the last couple of years, we changed that methodology, and it really has nothing to do with being gainful or more oversight to the village affairs. That oversight is done with a document called a budget. Having a proviso to have the appropriation mechanism adopted is certainly with an amount greater than perhaps what our current proposed budget is, does not adversely affect the operations of the community. You ultimately still have to approve all of the expenses that that the village spends.
Why not appropriate, potentially say 5% over what was budgeted, as opposed to, more than 20% over?
Commissioners, you can either pick a percentage. This is a proposed percentage. You can pick a percentage, or or choose not to pick any percentage. I do believe, and I'd be more than happy to defer to our legal counsel. At least it's my opinion that the appropriation ordinance is more like a ministerial mechanism to authorize the ability to spend up to that amount, but not an automatic license to do so. Is that a correct assessment?
Yes. In fact, in this ordinance, you have language that speaks in various paragraphs that the fact that it's appropriated doesn't give anybody the right to receive those funds either by means of salary, contracts, liabilities, or unpaid bills. So you still need to go through the finance procedures that we have, the purchasing policies that we have, and the approvals of the bills and payables that we do every month. And it's my understanding you also have a budget document that is more or less the guiding principle for what the departments are authorized to spend. So,
And that same language was in the previous year's appropriation ordinance?
yes, I'm sure it was, because that's standard boilerplate language.
Mayor. Commissioner Delaney.
I agree with Commissioner Hoskins. I know in the past we've had a 2% increase. Our appropriation was essentially 2% greater than our budget. At least that was the case last year. And I think, recognizing that we still have a budget, I think in some ways to appropriate 20 to 25% more, or a total of 20% more, kind of diminishes the budgeting process. And it may be a little bit inefficient for us to go back and have to reappropriate at a later date, but I feel more comfortable with something on the order of 2% like we've done last year.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mayor,
Commissioner Hoskins?
I'd like to offer a motion to table this appropriation ordinance and let staff go back and maybe look at the overall spending authority that the council will eventually approve. Something more in lines with, say, 2 to 5% consistent with past practices of this council.
Okay, we got a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Okay. Madam Clerk, when you're prepared, you can call the roll.
Commissioner Hoskins?
Aye.
Commissioner Curry?
Aye.
Commissioner Hosty?
No.
Commissioner Talalian?
Aye.
Mayor Calderon?
No. So that's 3 in favor to table and 2 against, correct?
Yes.
And the motion carries, so that matter's tabled. Just a couple of things, Commissioners. It certainly, I just want to point out, because, you know, we have an audience here, we have cameras here, and certainly information like this can more often than not tend to be misleading. Certainly there would have been nothing holding any of you from, you know, making some phone calls Friday. You get the agendas on Friday and you know, seeking a little more clarification. It's no problem that you do that here on the council floor, because I truly understand, you know, you get a little bigger bang for, you know, expressing your concerns, particularly when we've got the
Point of order, Mayor. Discussion's over on this item?
Your comment is out of order, Commissioner. Because we ultimately, now that this matter has been tabled, it's only appropriate that we come up with some explicit direction for staff. So to simply say, take it back, we really should focus in on a percentage, if you're in agreement of a percentage, so that they have something to work with. But
Mayor, when I made the motion, I said between 2 and 5%, something more consistent with what we did last year.
No, hold on, Commissioner. I'm the chair. You can speak when I call it. That's how it works. Not making up your own rules. We need to come up with some direction that we should give staff. And if we want it to be a percentage, then we should talk about a percentage and give that direction so that staff can work with it. You know, we've already spoken about what the actual document is, an appropriation ordinance. And I think, Commissioners, it's important for each one of you to thoroughly understand the difference between an appropriation and a budget. And I believe that you do understand it, but some of the actions that are being taken are leading me to believe otherwise. So if we have a specific percentage that we want to recommend, I think we should talk about that now so that we can give that kind of direction to staff.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Now I'll entertain it. Commissioner Hoskins.
When I made the motion to table, I suggested a range between 2 and 5%, consistent with past practices of this council. And that would be the direction that I think we should give staff.
Okay, any other further discussion?
Yes, Mayor, that 2% like last year would be my preference.
Okay, so here's my point in case. I have one commissioner saying 2%, another commissioner saying 2 to 5%. Where are we going to zero in on?
Mayor.
Commissioner.
Well, like we've done many straw polls before, we get the input from everybody and we come up with a number. So I assume the other two will jump in.
That's what I'm.
When they're given the floor.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's what I was pointing out here.
Mayor,
Commissioner Curry.
I'm fine with somewhere between 10 to 20%.
Okay, so we got 2 to 5, and 10 to 20. Okay, Commissioner Osty, do you have any thoughts?
Your Honor, I believe this did come from staff. It's recommendations. I know we held our line very tight last year, and there's things that need to be addressed in this fiscal year. I know it's appropriation, not a budget. I don't see the point of bringing it back, so I don't have a change.